following is a presentation of the Reviewing Network Sports.
Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of the NFL Network. After a wild and wacky and wonderful, insert whatever word that starts with W type of word you want to use for week one, because yeah, it was, needless to say, it was pretty chaotic all the way through. I mean, the season got off literally with a literal spin in front of Dak Prescott that caused one of the Eagles defenders, Jalen Carter, to get ejected before the season even starts, even though technically Dak Prescott started it first, but then again, he only spit on the ground and not on somebody. But then, to go to that, to the Ravens blowing a 15-point lead with less than 5 minutes to go against the Buffalo Bills, to J.J. McCarthy completely ruining Caleb Williams' homecoming, Caleb Williams' coming out party, you want to think about it, and Ben Johnson's coming out party too as the head coach, and we'll delve into all of that as we go along here and get through the usual stuff that we do here on the show here, including my predictions for the week. I'll talk about how I did last week, and let's just say not the best start overall, but okay, we'll get to that eventually. But before we do that, let's go to what we usually start off with on the show, and that is, of course, the Reviewing Network's Power Rankings. And as you can definitely see, it has changed very differently from last week. I mean, last week in particular, there was a number of different teams in the top 10 that have now gone down below the top 15, essentially because of the way they played and the fact that most of them didn't really show up. Needless to say, it's not a shocker that the Miami Dolphins are way down to the bottom. I mean, I can't believe that. I couldn't believe how badly they lost to Indianapolis of all teams. Indianapolis, a team that I thought was going to be right there with the New Orleans Saints for being one of the worst teams in the league this season. And yet, the Saints are still pretty bad, but the Colts at least showed how good they could be against Miami with Daniel Jones, of all people, under center. I don't think that's a sign of things to come for them, but hey, give them their proper flowers where credit is due. But let's go to what we usually start with, the top 5 here, and you see number 5 on there. I have the Philadelphia Eagles on there, just because of the fact that they were able to survive a game effort by Dallas. I'll give them Dallas credit, considering everything that was going on behind the scenes, the Micah Parsons situation. They came ready to play, and they gave Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles everything they could, even without Jalen Carter in there. I mean, taking Jalen Carter out of there, you saw how significant that made of a difference for the Dallas Cowboys running plays, running attack, because Javonte Williams, who spent the last couple years in Denver, just came in and just really kind of dominated that first half there. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, it was a back and forth game, and then the weather delay happened. And then immediately after that, I don't know what it was, but for some reason, everyone just decided, hey, we've just decided not to play anymore. We want to get out of here. And nobody really made an effort to keep the game going. And the score pretty much stayed the same for the rest of that game in particular. But the Philadelphia Eagles did exactly what they needed to do to start their title defense. They fought off against the Cowboys in their game effort, and they came out of there with a big win. Mostly because there were a couple problems with the Cowboys themselves, which we'll get to a little bit later as well. But that's why they're number 5 on the list. Number 4, I got to give it to the Washington Commanders. Even though, they played the Giants. They played a Giants team that clearly does not look like they have a good idea of what they're trying to accomplish overall. And I think they should be making some significant decisions about when they should start Jackson Dart. But, hey, Washington's still looking pretty good as they had been last year. So far, they are avoiding the sophomore slump. So far. I know it's only week 1, but we'll see what happens as we go along here. But they got the win over New York, so they are very much ahead of the New York Giants and everyone else are pretty much in the NFC. I say NFC East, but then again, Philadelphia just won, so what the hell am I trying to say? But Anyway, let's go to number 3, and this was a shocker overall. Like, holy crap, Los Angeles, you went in there and just gave the Kansas City Chiefs a huge punch in the mouth and saying that we are tired of being the bull, because we are tired of letting you, the bully, beat us down. Because they went into that game in LA and just, yeah, they took control of that game for the most part. I mean, Kansas City looked flat coming into that game, and the Chargers actually looked like a game football team, kind of like with the Cowboys, except this time they won. And Justin Herbert put a lot of effort, was a part of the reason why. He was very clean. He had a lot of big plays where he helped to lead the team in the win. The running game was really good. Omarion Hampton's looking like a really good rookie coming out of the first round of the draft last year. Everything's looking pretty good for the Chargers right now. I mean, again, it's only week 1, but you know, with them, the Raiders, the Denver Broncos, and yeah, even the Chiefs. It's why I said last week that the AFC West was and is going to be the toughest division in any conference this season. No question about it. So the Chargers are my number 3 on my power rankings. Number 2, very rarely do I put a losing team on this list, but hey, give the Baltimore Ravens credit where credit is due. Everything was going good for them up until the last half of the fourth quarter. I mean, what they were doing to Buffalo in that game was pretty significant. It felt like they did not lose a single beat from where they were last season, and honestly, it's not what you not expect from them. It's not what you usually wouldn't expect from the Ravens to start the season off. Usually they'll start off a little bit slow, but we know as the season will go on, they will get better. They'll play very well. They'll go on this long winning streak, and they'll probably be more than well up there for the playoffs in general, depending on what happens this year. I'm still waiting to see whether or not an NFC team will come in and finally take down Lamar Jackson with that record. But give Baltimore the credit where credit was due. They were looking pretty good for much of that game on Sunday. It was just that one significant fumble by Derrick Henry where the tide turned, and then they just kind of fell apart after that. They didn't really do anything. They went very conservative. And for a team like that, some people have made the argument that the Ravens probably should have went for it on 4th and 1 when they had the ball last, and tried to steal the game up there. And I would tend to agree with that per se, but I don't know. I just feel like that if you do it and you don't get it, you basically give the Bills the chance to win the game anyway. If you don't make it overall. Because at that point, they were able to. The Bills' defense was finally starting to be able to stop Derrick Henry from running the ball as much in that last bit of time there. And the momentum was pretty much on the Buffalo Bills' side. So, speaking of the Buffalo Bills, though, number 1, of course, are the Buffalo Bills, which was very impressive because I was pretty much ready to have them down below in the top 15 because of how they just felt flat for most of the game. They really didn't feel like they were getting the rhythm going. Josh Allen was doing the best he can, and then that last 5 minutes happened, man. If you saw that video I did for the Reviewing Network Live Sunday Night NFL Rewatch, I said after Derrick Henry scored that last touchdown, the game was over. Because I thought there was no way that the Buffalo Bills were going to find a way to get back in this game. They'd probably score a touchdown or two, but then Baltimore would probably return the favor with their own touchdown. But of course that didn't happen, and Buffalo just found a way to just stay consistent. And Josh Allen, man, if this game was any indication of how the season is going to go, Buffalo should be the team to beat in the AFC. This should finally be their year. They just have to get past Patrick Mahomes, which might be possible this time around. I think if the Chargers are any indication, they have shown that the Chargers showed that the Chiefs can be beaten, and I think other teams in the league should take notice in this. So yeah, it's going to be very, very fun to watch, and especially since one of the teams in the top 5 will see the Chiefs this week in a rematch of the Super Bowl. But speaking of those particular games, let's go ahead and move on to the Week 2 predictions. And in Week 1 of the 2025 NFL season, my overall predictions were astounding 8 of 8. Yeah, I was 50% correct and I was 50% wrong. Stuff that I got was pretty easy to figure out. I figured the Philadelphia Eagles were going to win. I figured Cincinnati was going to win against Cleveland. I figured that Washington was going to beat New York. I figured Arizona was going to beat New Orleans. I figured Tampa Bay was going to find a way to beat Atlanta. I thought Jacksonville would beat Carolina. I thought Denver would beat Tennessee, which they did. And I thought that Buffalo would beat Baltimore. I was the one that said Buffalo should win this game. Then there were the ones that I thought were easy wins, but not so much. I think everyone thought the Kansas City Chiefs were going to beat Los Angeles easily. That turned out not to be the case. I thought Miami was going to beat Indianapolis. Again, not the case. New England, I thought they would beat Las Vegas. Nope. The Jets over Pittsburgh? Nope. What else? Seattle over San Francisco? No. Detroit over Green Bay? No. Houston over LA? No. Chicago over Minnesota? Oh, hell no. So, yeah. I got half right, half wrong, so... that means that, so where does that leave us with the games of week number 2? Well, we start off with a Thursday Night Football matchup, a good one, really, between the Washington Commanders and the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay looked really damn good against the Detroit Lions. I mean, it was the first game of the season. Jordan Love looked pretty solid. Matthew Golden, the number 1 overall pick for the Packers, got some pretty good catches early on. The defense overall was top notch. Micah Parsons got his first sack as a Green Bay Packer, which made Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys fans soaking in their tears. Yes, feed us your tears, Dallas Cowboys fans, and also to Jerry Jones. Suck it, you loser, you idiot. You let this guy go for the stupidest of reasons, and you're already regretting the decision. Oh, well, yeah, Green Bay did a pretty good job. Detroit looked very flat, which we'll talk about them in a little bit, but hey, Green Bay came out strong, and they'll get to host the Washington Commanders, who had that commanding win over the New York Giants on Sunday. Then again, the New York Giants overall didn't look that good in general, so take that for what you will. But this should be a really good matchup against two teams who may very well meet each other in the playoffs, pending how the season goes. Washington looks like they're pretty strong compared to as they did last week. Green Bay looks pretty good too, so this is a very tough one to choose. And for this one, I'm going to go with the home field advantage here. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers to win this one. And I'm saying this because I think Green Bay will use the home field advantage to their momentum. I think they'll continue that stretch they were on when they played Dallas on Sunday. They were getting the crowd psyched up, and they looked like a legitimately good team that could very well top the NFC North at this point, considering how the rest of the division looks pretty bad right now. But again, we'll see what happens as the season goes on. But I'm going to pick Green Bay to win this one. I think it'll be a very close one. It should be one of the more fun Thursday Night Football matches to watch, especially since Thursday Night Football as a whole is one of those ones where it's very rarely a great game. It's more a lopsided game or a defensive struggle or an offensive struggle. I don't expect this to be that one. I think Amazon knows now, hey, we got to get some good matchups here, and this should be a really good matchup overall. I'm going to take Green Bay to win this one, to go to 2-0, and Washington to drop to 1-1. Next up, you've got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals looked really good against the Cleveland Browns on Sunday, and it was mostly their defense that was getting the work done for them. And hey, what a time to do it, man. Your defense was the biggest problem last season, and yet your offense kind of started flat, and that was kind of the shocking thing overall. Like, the offense didn't really get anything really going, especially considering that they were the ones that the Bengals played their starters in the preseason overall to get them ready for this. And so there's no excuse for like fatigues and all that. And it was a very interesting game, but the defense came through overall. That's exactly what Cincinnati needed. And now it's time to get both of them clicking overall. And they're going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had a pretty solid opener against the Carolina Panthers. But then again, it's the Carolina Panthers. They did not look that great overall. But Jacksonville looked pretty good. Travis Hunter showed a lot of potential in his early start. Travis Etienne had a great running game overall, to the point where they basically gave Tate Bigsby away to Philadelphia for no particular reason. They traded him not too long after that game. As far as the game itself goes, a lot of people are picking Cincinnati to win, and that's one I could definitely see them winning. I'm going to go ahead and take the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the Jaguars under Liam Cohen are building something here, and I think going into Cincinnati, and proving to people how good you can really be, and showing that last week against Carolina wasn't a fluke. I think this is a great game for them to show what they can do. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Cincinnati wins this one. In fact, I should be picking Cincinnati to win it, but I am going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this one. I'm going to go. I think they go in there, pull off the upset. Jacksonville would go to 2-0. Cincinnati drops to 1-1. Next up, we have the New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, hey, say what you will about how they played last week against Philadelphia. They came ready to play. I mean, they were playing pretty good for the first half, and then they kind of just fell apart in the second half in general. CeeDee Lamb was missing some notable catches, including a couple of big ones towards the end of the game. But here's the good news for them. As bad as everything is going right now, you're going up against a New York Giants team that just looks completely miserable under Russell Wilson. And I think it's just the fact that they're putting too much on Russell Wilson overall and not letting the young stars of the team come through, like Cam Scatterboo or Malik Neighbors or Theo Johnson, like the people who were doing well in the preseason. The question on everyone's mind is, should they use this game to start Jackson Dart? I would say no. I'd say wait until you get past Kansas City and Los Angeles, and then start Jackson Dart. Because you're gonna put this kid in. If you're gonna put this kid in against Patrick Mahomes and then Justin Herbert, you're just begging for the kid. You're just preparing the kid to lose those games easily. And I think that's something where, you hold off until after week 4. Like if you're 0-4. If Russell Wilson can't get anything going in the next couple of games, then yeah, start Jackson Dart then. Don't start him after next week's game. I mean, it'd be really stupid if they did that. But yeah, I think they should just let it ride. As Russell Wilson once said, let's ride. Like, just let it ride past week 4, and then think about starting Jackson Dart. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and give the Dallas Cowboys to win this one. I think they will get the win in this game here. I don't see anything that would make me believe that the New York Giants go into Dallas and beat them in Jerry World. Yeah, I know the Cowboys' home record last year was terrible, but it's a new year, so we'll see what happens there. I'm going to give the Cowboys the win. They go to 1-1. Giants drop to 0-2. Next up, you have the Ben Johnson Bowl, the Chicago Bears versus the Detroit Lions. Both of these teams looked absolutely horrible last week. The Detroit Lions, we finally got to see what a Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenless Detroit Lions team looks like under Dan Campbell. Pretty bad. Pretty bad. I mean, the Lions looked really flat and didn't really do anything until it was way too late. I mean, yeah, they scored that touchdown to make the score look much more seizable, but it was already too little too late at that point, honestly. It was at the point where it's just kind of like, yeah, it's garbage time pretty much. And they have a lot of questions they got to ask themselves here. And, like, can this team be as sustainable and as successful as they were the last couple of years when they had Johnson and Glenn there? And so far, it's not looking like that's the case here. But then again, Ben Johnson isn't doing himself a lot of favors after the Chicago Bears lost yesterday. I mean, what the hell was that, Chicago? I mean, hey, if you want the NFL equivalent of Bill Belichick's North Carolina debut, that game was it right there. Because the first drive, they looked pretty good, and then it looked like they were gonna. And after the pick 6, it looked like, okay, Bears are good. This is it. The Ben Johnson era begins. And then Minnesota woke up in the fourth quarter, and J.J. McCarthy woke up, and then the Bears just had no answers whatsoever. Like, they literally just, like, that goodwill Ben Johnson had, all of a sudden, it's like he transformed back into Matt Eberflus again. That's exactly what it felt like watching the Bears in that fourth quarter on Monday night. And I mean, I don't know if they can find that magic. I don't know if they're going to be able to find it against the Detroit Lions team that's desperate for a win, too. I mean, again, I'm going with the home field advantage on this one. I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions to win this one. Give me the Lions to go to 1-1 and the Bears to drop to 0-2. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Rams versus the Tennessee Titans. Again, two teams who did not look very good in their openers last week. Tennessee Titans, Cam Ward wasn't great overall, but certainly wasn't the worst he could have done. But you got to score more than 12 points in a game. You got to score more than field goals, honestly. And it just never felt like they really had an opportunity to get going overall. The first game they had was against the Denver Broncos team that everyone's thinking is going to challenge the Kansas City Chiefs for the AFC West title, and even they didn't look that great overall. The Los Angeles Rams, yeah, they got the win last week, and they mostly rode on the back of Puka Nacua, who, that son of a bitch is tough, man. I mean, you saw when he got that bloody face on him. It's just like, it's amazing he went back in there and balled out as much as he did, but the final score overall was still 14-9, and the Texans had a chance to win that game, and just, all because of that one fumble, Rams were able to drive it out, to run it out, and then just get out of there with a win. I feel like we need to see a lot more from the Los Angeles Rams before I could say that they are a legitimate contender for the NFC West title. And Tennessee, I think it'll be interesting to see what Cam Ward can do in his home stadium in a big game like this. I'm still going to say Los Angeles is going to win this one. I'm going to go with the Rams to go to 2-0 and the Titans to drop to 0-2. Next up, we have the New England Patriots versus the Miami Dolphins. Two teams that really disappointed in their games last week. New England, Mike Vrabel's coaching debut at New England got overshadowed by the Raiders, who surprisingly did look much better than I think anybody could have anticipated, even with veterans like Pete Carroll and Geno Smith at the helm. Ashton Jeanty had himself a good day overall, getting his first touchdown. Brock Bowers continued his record-breaking run from last season as the rookie, and they looked pretty good. New England, not so much. New England didn't really feel like they had a lot there going, and Mike Vrabel's there. Josh McDaniels is back as the offensive coordinator. There was a lot of high expectations going into that game, and it just never felt like they really got anything going there. But as bad as the debut as the New England Patriots had, it's nothing compared to the hell that the Miami Dolphins went through. What the hell happened there? I mean, you lost to an Indianapolis Colts team that basically said, fuck you, Anthony Richardson, we're going to go ahead and start this guy that was with the Giants. And he just completely mopped the floor with all of you. Like, I really don't know how to feel about the Miami Dolphins right now. I mean, they went from a team that 3 years ago was looking like a contender for a Super Bowl, but now they can barely get any wins. And I don't know if it's Tua. I don't know if it's just the fact that Mike McDaniel's not a good coach. Like, it's just not. I just don't know how to feel about them. You got all this chaos going on. Maybe Tyreek Hill gets traded before the trade deadline. I mean, there's just so much opportunities there. There's so many consequences that could happen there as well. But the good news for the Miami Dolphins is that, as Mike McDaniel said, it can only get better from here. But not only that, you host the Patriots in Miami. New England has been notoriously known for being pretty bad in Miami for the last couple of years. Even when Tom Brady was there, it was never easy playing in Miami for the New England Patriots. So that's the one thing they have going for them, and that's the one thing that I think will carry them to a win this week. It won't be a big win overall, but it will be a win that it'll at least calm the noise down here, especially considering that it's important to get this win because the next game you have is against the Buffalo Bills on a Thursday night. So you have to go all the way up to New York and play the Buffalo Bills on Thursday night. That's going to be a tough task to do. And being 0-2, that's pretty much, if you can't get past New England, you're in danger of going 0-3 at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Miami Dolphins the win. I'm going to go ahead and give them a 1-1 record on that. New England drops to 0-2. But hey, New England, it's a good news for you is that your favorite punching bag of the Steelers will come by next weekend. So, yay! Looking forward to that. Yeah, I know Bill Belichick isn't there anymore, but they lost to Mac Jones. They lost to Mac Jones when New England was the head coach. Was when Bill Belichick was the head. Is when they played New England last. I was wrong. 2022 was when Mac Jones was the quarterback, and then when they came back in 23 for the Thursday night game, I think it was Bailey Zappi, which is even worse. Like, yeah, I'm not looking forward to that game next week. New England and Pittsburgh. That's going to be really, really tough for me to watch overall. So, but anyway, Miami gets the win in this one, 1-1. New England drops to 0-2. But hey, New England gets to see their punching bag the Steelers around in week 3. Next up, we've got the San Francisco 49ers and the New Orleans Saints. The 49ers, they barely got out of Seattle with a win. I don't think it's anything to really get that excited about because neither team in that game looked great overall. I mean, San Francisco just barely got out with a win. And even then, they have a lot of problems on that roster right now. I mean, just today, they got rid of their kicker, Jake Moody. They waived him, and they put George Kittle on IR, and they also released Robbie Chosen, but they signed Eddie Pinheiro to be the kicker for the 49ers, and they also signed Kendrick Bourne. But the big thing is that they took George Kittle is now on IR, so he's out for the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be a very, very tough stretch on paper for them overall. But the good news is you're playing a team that's as bad as the New Orleans Saints, who looked really, really about as bad as I thought they were going to be. I mean, they didn't look like they had their heads figured out, and I just don't think they have a good enough team to really make an impact here. Like, there's nothing about them that makes me scream out and say, oh, this is an underdog team. This isn't like last year where they surprisingly went on a 2-0 start to the season. Everyone thought, oh, this is a Super Bowl, a dark horse for the Super Bowl. And then they completely fall apart at the seams pretty quickly, essentially caused Derek Carr to retire. I mean, it's tough to be a New Orleans Saints fan right now. Like, you're just waiting for the season to end so you could possibly get the number 1 overall pick in the draft. I mean, that's pretty much what it's looking like right now for them. So for San Francisco, I wouldn't expect the best game from them this time around, but hey, they'll get to 2-0 with this one. I'm giving them the win. New Orleans drops to 0-2. Following that, you've got the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. The Jets looked pretty good despite losing to the Steelers. I'll give them this. Like the Dallas Cowboys, they came ready to play in that game, and they almost had a chance to win that game. Justin Fields looked really good for the New York Jets. I think there is a bright future for the Jets there. I think there is a lot there to admire about what they did there. I think there is something there for the New York Jets. The problem is, you've got a very, very tough opponent coming your way again this week in the Buffalo Bills, coming off of that massive comeback win, and I just don't see a way that the Jets can go in there and win this game. I think Buffalo's very high on that win there. Destiny seems to be in their face right now that this is their time. This is their year that they can finally beat the odds and get back to the Super Bowl again. And I'm not going to be the one to deny them that. I think they are the best team in the league right now, and so far in this week 1, and it's been like that for the last couple of years now. So yeah, I give the Buffalo Bills the win in this one. I think the Jets will get better as the season goes on, but they're going to have to get through an 0-2 start here, which I think is going to happen with the Jets. Buffalo will get to 2-0. And then you've got the Super Bowl 40 rematch, the Seattle Seahawks versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. The DK Metcalf revenge game, if you will. Of course, DK Metcalf spent his first 6 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks, got traded to the Steelers, and then the Steelers signed him to this massive 4-year, $150 million contract. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I'll give them this. They looked pretty damn good against the Jets. It's the Jets, but here's the thing. The fact that Aaron Rodgers threw for 4 touchdowns in that game, the first time any quarterback has thrown for 4 touchdowns is in the opener since Ben Roethlisberger in 2020. It's the first time that the Steelers have thrown 4 touchdowns in a game since Ben Roethlisberger did it in 2020. But even before that, this was the most points the Steelers had in a season opener in over 40 years. I think they said 1983 was the last time they had an opening score as high as this. I mean, this team looks completely different than they've had in the last couple of seasons. In more ways than one, because the offense was swinging, and shockingly, the defense was dragging itself. Like, I couldn't believe how bad the defense was overall. Like, the defense was just really, really lackluster until the very end when Jalen Ramsey knocks that ball down and the game is over. Like, before then, there was nothing really that much to celebrate about the defense in this particular matchup. I mean, it really was a struggle, or is for most of that game, because the Jets were just running the ball down their throats. And yeah, there's a lot of problems with the defense that they got to figure out quickly. But the offense overall looks pretty solid. All the big veteran weapons they brought in did come ready to play. And hopefully they can bring that magic into the home opener. They go up against the Seattle Seahawks team that didn't play the best overall. There was times when they looked promising. Jackson Smith-Njigba seems like he set himself up as the number one wide receiver overall. Had a pretty good game with I think it was over 120 yards for him. But it's tough to say. I can't get a grasp on the Seattle Seahawks. And this is the type of game. The last time they came in here in week 2, they really just mopped the floor with the Steelers. But then again, that was when Russell Wilson was playing with them and DK Metcalf was playing for the Seahawks. But it's a very interesting matchup indeed. And I was thinking maybe, kind of like the same thing with the Jets game last week, I was thinking about maybe going with the Seattle Seahawks, but I'm going to give the Steelers the benefit of the doubt and seeing if they can continue this trend. I'm going to go ahead and see if they can continue where they left off last week. So I am going to go ahead and give the Steelers the 2-0 start here. Seattle drops to 0-2. This is one I probably should be picking Seattle on because I just don't want to be that guy that looks at that first game and thinks to themselves, okay, this is the way it's going to be from now on, because I've been down that road before, and I just know for certain that it's going to end poorly for them. So yeah, I'm going to take Pittsburgh to go to 2-0, Seattle dropping to 0-2. Which then brings us to maybe one of the more intriguing matchups overall, the Joe Flacco Bowl, as Joe Flacco and his new team, the Cleveland Browns, takes on Joe Flacco's old team and the Baltimore Ravens. And the Ravens had that 40-25 lead evaporated in a matter of minutes, and I would say that it's a fluky situation, but no, this has happened way too many goddamn times. You've seen the graphic, you've seen them how they've lost every single game where they've had nearly every single game where they've had a double-digit lead. I mean, there was times against Pittsburgh, there was times against Miami. They had a lead over the Raiders at one point last year. Yeah, I'm looking at the graphic here. They had a 35-14 lead over Miami. That was back in 2022. They, of course, blew that. They had a 20-3 lead over the Bills that same year. Lost that. They had a 20-10 lead over the Giants that year. Lost that one. They had a 19-10 lead over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Lost that. A 10-0 lead over the Steelers. Lost that. 24-9 over the Browns. Lost that. And of course, last night, 34-25, 40-25. Not on that Sunday night. I mean, not last night. I'm thinking that it was yesterday. But yeah, the Ravens have a problem with blowing these leads, and it really is getting to that point where it's time to start thinking about, for the Ravens to start thinking about, maybe we should talk to John and say, hey man, we know you're a great coach and all, but this is happening way too goddamn much. And yeah, it's going to be very I think that he should be the one that's on the hot seat just as much as somebody like a Mike McDaniel or even a Mike Tomlin. I mean, Mike Tomlin's on the hot seat too, but considering how Baltimore has a top quarterback in Lamar Jackson and a top running back in Derrick Henry, there is no reason why you should be blowing these leads so rapidly. It happens every single year with this team, and it's something where it's just kind of like, you guys got to do something about this pretty quickly, or you're going to find yourself, or you're more than likely going to find yourselves never always being the bridesmaid and never being the bride. And the Cleveland Browns overall look about the same as they did last year. The defense can sometimes look pretty good. Offense, iffy at times. Like, nothing really about them says we're going to go ahead and finally break this curse that we've been stuck in since we came back into the league. So the good news for the Ravens is that they probably have a good chance of winning this one. But then again, the Cleveland Browns have had their number the last couple of years. Like, of course, a couple years ago, Cleveland went to Baltimore and pulled off one of those unexpected double-digit comebacks. And then last year in Cleveland, Baltimore lost to them. I mean, it's tough to say. But I'm going to go ahead and say that the better team will win this game. I think Baltimore needs to make amends for what happened last week and beat the Cleveland Browns to have any kind of relevancy in the AFC playoff picture. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Ravens the 1-1, the win go to 1-1, and then the Browns will drop to 0-2. I just feel like the better team there, it should win this game, plain and simple. Which then brings us to the 4 or 5 games, and we have the Denver Broncos at the Indianapolis Colts. How about those Colts? I mean, Daniel Jones, damn, man. Like, it really took you to get to Indianapolis to have a game like that? And we really don't know. Was Indianapolis really that good, or was Miami just that terrible? It's tough to say right now. I can't really say if Indianapolis is that great. I still think they are probably one of the worst teams in the league this season, right after with the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to say right now it was a fluke, but if you go into Denver, if you let Denver come in and then you beat them, then maybe we'll think about it. The Denver Broncos, hey, they got the win against the Tennessee Titans team that really didn't look like they were doing all that much anyway. But they got the win. They had a couple good touchdown runs. And this is a team that everyone's saying is going to be the team that will eventually usurp the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, they better show it in this matchup here, honestly. I'm going to give them the win in this one here. I have more faith in the Broncos right now than I do with the Colts. So give me the Broncos to go to 2-0 and the Colts to drop to 1-1. Next up, you've got the Carolina Panthers versus the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals got an opening weekend win over the New Orleans Saints, which it's the New Orleans Saints. I don't think it's really that much to be that proud of, but Arizona has a lot of things that need to go their way. I mean, they have to put something together. Kyler Murray's been there for the last 7 years now, and this is a kid that should be playing really good football. And there has been times when they have been playing really good football. They've had a good team around him. They just have not been able to get past that second mark in general. And so right now it's just basically do what you need to do to get as many wins as you can here. And I keep thinking it's Shane Steichen who's the head coach of the Cardinals. No, it's Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon needs to make sure he needs to prove to the Arizona Cardinals that they can win games like this and win games overall, I should say. But I have no idea what I'm talking about. But anyway, Arizona, they got a win over New Orleans, but really isn't saying a whole lot. Carolina, on the other hand, nothing really changed. It felt like that upswing they had last season, at the end of last season, that kind of evaporated because it's just like, Bryce Young has the weapons he needs. They're giving him the keys they're giving him all the hope in the world that you'll actually get it together. And then you put off a performance like that when you're more invested in the game that's going on the jumbotron. Like there was a video clip out there of him just watching, the bobblehead switch. Like we have this thing at the pit games too, where they'll bring a kid out from the audience and they'll be like, let's play this game on the jumbotron. Follow the bobblehead panther and see if you can find the pit logo under one of them. And it's a fun game that everyone plays around here. Even plays around, even with the adults. It's very fun to watch. And you think you get a good idea of it. But really, when you watch that game, when you watch that in particular, there's probably a belief that they changed it randomly. Because once they showed the bobblehead switching around, they'll cut back to the kid and the announcer, and they'll be like, okay, pick which one you think it is. And then the kid will say 2, like everyone wants them to pick 2. And so it's like, okay, 2, let's see it. And then it's 1. It's just like, and you look at it going like, there's no way that was underneath number 1. For kids, that's fun. When you're a quarterback in the National Football League and you're putting more focus on that than the game plan here, clearly something isn't right in Carolina right now. I mean, North Carolina apparently is like a cesspool for really bad football right now. But with this game in particular, I think the better team will win this one. I think that is the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to give them the win at 2-0, and Carolina the drop at 0-2. Carolina has just shown nothing to me that really says that they're really committed to really turning this around in general. They just kind of look as bad as they did at the start of last season. But let's get to the main event, the biggest game of Week 2, and that is, of course, the Super Bowl 59 rematch between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs looked pretty bad last week in Los Angeles. I mean, once Xavier Worthy came out of the picture, it just kind of like the team's plans just kind of fell apart, and they had all these other wide receivers there. Wide receivers that had been there before Xavier Worthy got there, but I think they really were setting Xavier Worthy up to be the number 1 wide receiver, considering how well he did in the Super Bowl in garbage time touchdowns. And they're going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, who had a lot of flaws overall last week. And Jalen Carter supposedly will not be suspended for this game. And I think they said that the one game he had was the suspension. The one game where the Dallas game was his suspension, and he'll have to pay a hefty fine overall, but he will be able to play. So that should help the Philadelphia Eagles defense boost itself up here in this matchup here as they play in Arrowhead this week. Everyone's picking the Philadelphia Eagles to go ahead and do the same thing they did to the Chiefs in February. I don't think I'm going to go down that route here. I think Kansas City, I don't know if Kansas City can recover from an 0-2 start, honestly. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to do, per se, considering what they are, but if you saw that game, Kansas City did not look like a team that was really that was really game for that game in Brazil. It felt like they were trying to give the Chargers as much of a win as they did before. It didn't feel like they were game for that one in general. And yeah, this is a game I feel like they're waiting for here. I think they're putting all their effort into this game here because they want to get revenge on the Eagles. They want to get this team back on track. And I think a win over the defending Super Bowl champs will do that for them. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Kansas City Chiefs to win this one. I'm going to have the Chiefs go 1-1 and the Philadelphia Eagles to drop to 1-1. And then we've got the Sunday Night Football matchup. How can you possibly top the greatness that was the Buffalo Bills coming back against the Baltimore Ravens in a comeback for the ages? You've got Michael Penix Jr. versus J.J. McCarthy, Falcons and Vikings. Hey, I'll give Minnesota the credit where credit was due. They got the win, but I'm sorry, man. I just don't think Minnesota is that great of a team overall. I think they got lucky. I think it was mostly because Chicago just kind of fell apart. I think they thought they had the game all sewn up whenever that pick six happened, and they just didn't do anything in the fourth quarter in general. So I don't think it was really the Minnesota Vikings just all of a sudden getting those creative juices back in there. I think they just got lucky in that matchup there. But the Atlanta Falcons, I'll give them this. Michael Penix Jr. was game, and they had a chance to win that game and maybe send it to overtime. But then Younghoe Koo misses the field goal wide right. And, of course, what could have been, and, Tampa Bay wins that one in general. We'll get to Tampa Bay in a little bit here. But Falcons and Vikings, the Kirk Cousins Bowl, if you will, with Kirk Cousins sitting on the sideline of one of those teams because nobody wants him. Oh, poor baby, but with over $100 million saved up in the bank. But in terms of this matchup here, I want to go ahead and give the Falcons the win here. I think the Falcons are bitter about that Tampa Bay loss. I think they have enough pieces there to go into Minnesota and pull off the upset, but Minnesota plays very well at home. Minnesota does have enough there where, they could possibly eke out a win in this one here. And I think the home field advantage will be big there. Whenever they play on Sunday Night Football or in prime time, it's always an event. It feels like an event. So, yeah, as much as I want to give Atlanta the win here, I am going to go ahead and go with the Minnesota Vikings to win this one. I'll have them go at 2-0, and then the Atlanta Falcons drop to 0-2. It's a close one, but I think Minnesota has the upper hand with the home field advantage. And then this week, we've got a Monday Night Football doubleheader. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Houston Texans as the first game of the doubleheader. The Texans, very sluggish in their first game back. I mean, this is the first time in the C.J. Stroud era where this team looked really, really bad in their season opener. I mean, they couldn't get anything going whatsoever, and nothing about that team made me say, okay, this team's going to be the same good team that they were before. I just can't see it with this team in general, honestly. I mean, it just doesn't feel like a team it just didn't feel like that was the best game that this team could play. And now they're going to have to go and play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who look pretty damn good and once again look like a surefire contender to win the NFC South because no other team in the division looks that strong. I mean, Emeka Egbuka overall has the potential to be an Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate with the way he started this season. And so they're going into the Houston again. And last time these two teams met, it was a very close battle between two very solid teams, going back and forth until the very end. And that was C.J. Stroud in his rookie season. He got the best of Baker Mayfield in that one here. And the home field advantage should play well for them. Yeah, it's another tough one. But I'm going to go with the home field advantage for C.J. Stroud and the Texans. I think they get back on track with this one. I'm going to give them the win in this one. I think this will be the more exciting of the two games on Monday night this week. I'll go with the Texans to win it, give them the Houston 1-1, and Tampa to go 1-1. And last but not least, the toughest division in the league this season, the AFC West Showdown. This time around, it's the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders, like I said, pulled off an unexpected win last week with Ashton Jeanty and Brock Bowers really putting up some nice numbers. Trey Taylor had a pretty good game. The Raiders looked pretty good against the New England Patriots. But the Chargers definitely look like a much better team than they did before. And if they can keep that momentum going, can you imagine if the Chargers found a way to win this and be 2-0, already having 2 wins against the other teams in this division, which enjoy this time right now, because Kansas City is the only team in the AFC West that does not have a win in this division right now. That will change sooner rather than later, But in terms of the team that I think will win this one, It's one of those ones where I think the Chargers have the upper hand over the Raiders. I'm just not fully ready and committed to Geno Smith and Pete Carroll just yet. I mean, Ashton Jeanty looked very good, and Brock Bowers looked really good too, but I think the Chargers have the better weapons all across the board here in this one. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Chargers the win in this one. Chargers, I think, move to 2-0, and the Raiders drop to 1-1. So just to recap my winner predictions for Week 2, I've got Green Bay over Washington, Jacksonville over Cincinnati, Dallas over the Giants, Detroit over the Chicago Bears, the Rams over the Titans, Miami over New England, the 49ers over the Saints, the Buffalo Bills over the Jets, the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Seattle Seahawks, Baltimore over Cleveland, Denver over Indianapolis, Arizona over Carolina, Kansas City over Philadelphia, Minnesota over Atlanta, Houston over Tampa Bay, Chargers over Las Vegas. And I feel really confident about most of my picks this week, and I think the only one that I really was, the only ones I was really looking at and thinking to myself, should I have gone this way? Two in particular, Jacksonville over Cincinnati. I think Jacksonville will get the upper hand on Cincinnati in this one. And then Atlanta over Minnesota. And then Minnesota over Atlanta. I was going to pick Atlanta to win this one, but I just feel like the home field advantage is going to work wonders for Minnesota overall. I feel more confident in my picks this week than I did last week. And hopefully I can do better than 50% from last week. 8 of 16 was my results from last week, which was not very great, but it is what it is, so I'll take that. But hopefully I'll do better this week with my predictions. So let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of my predictions? Who do you think is going to win this weekend? Check out the last episode I did, and also check out the first ever Reviewing Network Live Sunday Night NFL Rewatch game, which was a ton of fun to do. The Buffalo Bills beating the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, the end of that game, that's where the fun really got started. But check that video out in the corner as well. But with all that said, thanks for watching and listening, and I will see you guys next time. So until next week, I'll see you guys. Take care.
The following has been a presentation of the Reviewing Network Sports.